In this video, you are going to see all the answers to the test review worked out and explained to you in hopes of making you more successful on the test that you are getting ready to take. Please use this as your study guide to review and prepare for that test. And again, everything should be in your favor if you take this seriously. For number one, the slope of any horizontal line is 0. Remember, the key to remembering this is the fact that the word horizontal has a Z in it and the word 0 starts with 0. Number two, the slope of any vertical line is going to be undefined. Number three, parallel lines have to have the same slopes. Number four, perpendicular line slopes are opposite reciprocals. Number five, the Y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. And those are just basic definitions that we've been working with throughout the entire chapter. For numbers 6, 7, and 8, you are matching the formula to its form name. So for number 6, slope-intercept form is letter B, y equals mx plus b. Number 7, point slope form would be letter C. And number 8, standard form would be letter A. You must know those formulas and you must know their names. For numbers 9 and 10, you are writing an equation in slope-intercept form. I've given you the slope and the y-intercept, so there is no math attached to this. You are writing the equations with the numbers stuck in the correct place. Number 9 will be y equals negative 5x plus 7. Number 10 will be y equals 10x minus 3. For numbers 11, 12, and 13, your equations will still be in intercept form, but this time all you get is a graph. So in order to do this, you must identify the m and the b for each picture. You must also pick points on the line to help you figure out the m and the b. All right, so for each one of these, I will designate where the points are that you could use and to help you get the equation. All right, for this one, the origin is a good point to use, and then if you look right below it, the next dot is also a point. So if I'm going to do my rise over run, I'm going down 1 and right 1. So that's negative 1 over positive 1, which comes out being negative 1. So the slope is negative 1. And if you remember, the line is going downhill, it's got to have a negative slope anyway. For the b value, it is at the origin, so that would be a 0. Right? So your equation for this line is y equals negative x. Okay, don't put plus 0. If 0 is involved, just take it out of the equation. For number 12, we want to identify the points. There's one right here. And then the next one that you would be able to use would be up here. So once again, find the m first by doing rise over run. Okay, you're going to go up 5 and over 1. So your slope is going to be 5. And then your b value is positive 3 on the y-axis. So your final answer is y equals 5x plus 3. Okay, go to number 13, same thing, identify your points. There's one right here, and the next one would be right here. Right, I notice that this line is going downhill, so my slope needs to have a negative sign in it somewhere. I'm going down 2 and right 3. That would be negative 2 over positive 3, or negative 2/3. My b value that it hits the y-axis is at positive 4. So my final equation, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Okay, and again, it's all based on that m and b. If you can find those pieces, then the equation is really easy to write. For number 14, you want to write an equation in slope-intercept form to model this situation, so we do need to have y's and x's. Right? Start with the actual situation first and then put in the variables. To use the pool at the gym, you have to pay a one-time fee of $50, so everybody who goes, no matter how many times, has to pay $50, and then $7 per visit. You don't know how many visits, that's where your x is going to go. So you have $50 plus $7 times your number of visits. All of that is going to equal your y value, because the equation needs to be in intercept form, so it must say y equals and then the other stuff. Okay, for number 15, Pam and Jan both wrote the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, going through the point 1, 1 with a slope of 3. And Pam says that Jan is wrong, so we want to know who is right and explain how we know that. Well, if you look at both equations, both have a slope of 3, so that's not the issue. Jan used point slope form, so let's double check and see that her work was right. If she does y1 or y minus 1 equals 3 times x minus 1 and solves it, that means she's going to distribute, so she get y minus 1 equals 3x minus 3, add the 1 to the other side, and she should come out with y equals 3x minus 2, which she did. So all of her work is right, and she used the point and the slope correctly. Over here with Pam, right, she got the slope right, but then her y-intercept, she just plucked the y value out of the formula, or out of the ordered pair from the y spot. She didn't do any math. You can't do that though. So in order of answering the question where it says who is correct, Jan is correct. And the reason she is correct is because she used point slope form correctly, right? Pam is incorrect, right, because she used the y value in the ordered pair as her b. And you can't do that, right? Your y value in the ordered pair is definitely not your b value. All right, for 16 and 17, we need to write an equation in slope-intercept form when they're giving us different information. And in this case, I'm giving you a slope and a point. Right? You have two options with this. You can find the b, or you can use point slope form. I'm going to do number 16 by finding the b, and then I'll do number 17 by point slope so you can see an example of either one. It does not matter which one you choose to do. You're going to get the same answer no matter what, unless your math is wrong. Right? So for finding the b, you would have 0 equals negative 2 times 3 plus b. So that's 0 equals negative 6 plus b. Add the 6. So your b value is 6. Now that I know my m and my b, the answer to this problem is y equals negative 2x plus 6. For number 17, I'm going to use point slope form. So that's y minus 2 equals 2 times x minus 1. I need to distribute. So y minus 2 equals 2x minus 2. Add the 2 over. And I'm going to get y equals 2x. You do not need to write plus 0. It just goes away. Negative 2 plus 2 knocks out. So your final answer is y equals 2x. If you happen to put plus 0 in your answer, I will not mark you wrong. Just know that it does not need to be there. 18, 19, and 20 are some more equations in slope-intercept form from graphs. So once again, we need to find the points. So in number 18, I'm going to use this point right here, and then the next one I'm using is this one. It's all about the m and the b, so you got to find all that stuff first. For the m, I'm going to rise 3 and run 2, so that's 3 over 2. And then for the b, it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5. So your equation is y equals 3 over 2x minus 5. For number 19, it is a horizontal line. All horizontal lines have an m of 0. This cuts through the y-axis at positive 3, so my b is 3. Because it crosses the y-axis and never the x, this equation will be y equals 3. There will never be an x in the equation because it never crosses the x-axis. When you go to number 20, okay, you have a vertical line, so your slope is undefined. Okay, there is no y-intercept because it never crosses the y-axis. So when it doesn't cross the y and only crosses the x, your equations start x equals, and it happens to cross at positive 3, so this equation is x equals 3. Right? Please remember the difference between horizontal and vertical and which one starts with y equals and which one starts with x equals. For 21 to 23, you're still using intercept form, but this time they gave you two order pairs, or in number 23's case, they gave you function notation that you have to make into order pairs. Right? So for each one of these, you have to find the slope first, and then once you find the slope, you're going to find the b, or use point slope form to get your answer. I will find the b in all three of these cases, just so you can see what that looks like, and most of you probably go through that process anyway. So for 21, your slope formula would be negative 1 minus 2 on top and 1 plus 4 on the bottom. This gives you negative 3 over positive 5. That's your m. Okay, so now you want to pick one of the ordered pairs and find your b. Right, so I'm going to choose 1, negative 1 because the numbers are smaller and easier to deal with. Negative 1 equals negative 3/5 times positive 1 plus b. That gives me negative 1 equals negative 3/5 plus b. I don't like fractions, so I'm going to get rid of them. So I'm going to multiply the entire thing by 5. And now I'm going to have negative 5 equals negative 3 plus 5b. Okay, from here I've got a two-step equation. Okay, I'm going to add the 3 over. Okay, and hopefully you guys can see in between the writing of what I'm doing here. Negative 5 plus 3 is going to be negative 2 equals 5b. Divide by 5, and your b value is negative 2/5. So now that I have my m and my b for number 21, I'm going to put them together and write the equation. Y equals negative 3/5 x, and then it's minus 2/5. So this entire equation right here is the answer to number 21. For number 22, I'm going to do the slope formula again. So this will be 3 minus 1 over 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2, so 2 over 2 gives you a slope of 1. Right, then again, find the b. I'm going to use 1, 1. So 1 equals 1 times 1 plus b. This makes me have 1 equals 1 plus b. Subtract your 1, and you get 0 equals b. You do not need to write the 0 when you write your equation. This equation is just y equals x. Okay. For number 23, it doesn't look like you have ordered pairs, but you really do. If you remember with function notation, the number that's in the parentheses is your x value, which means the number on the other side is your y value. So for each one of these, you want to make an ordered pair, and then you'll be right back to what 21 and 22 have going on. So this first one is the ordered pair 2, 7. The second one is the ordered pair 4, 6. You will have a problem just like this on the test where you will have to make the order pairs first. So please make sure you understand what you're doing with this. Find the slope just like normal. So we have 6 minus 7 over 4 minus 2. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. 4 minus 2 is 2. So my slope is negative 1/2. Pick one of the ordered pairs, and since I'm dealing with 1/2, I'm going to use 4, 6, just because I know 1/2 goes into those numbers nicely. So 6 equals negative 1/2 times 4 plus b. Well, half of 4 is 2. Take the negative sign, that'll be a negative 2. So 6 equals negative 2 plus b. Add the 2 over, and you get 8 is your b value. So when you write your equation, it'll be y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8. And that's the final equation that makes number 23 happen. Okay, so there are a lot more steps involved in this type of work, but you do have to make sure that you're following the routine behind it. Okay, so let me get rid of some of the stuff before we go to 24. And then we'll keep going. All right, for number 24, it's asking you to write and solve an equation for this problem. A landscape supply business charges $30 just to deliver the mulch. The cost of the mulch is $23 per cubic yard. Find the cost of having 8 cubic yards of mulch delivered to a site. Well, before you can use the 8, you have to use the $30 standard fee and the $23 per cubic yard. But in this case, we don't know how many cubic yards until we do the next part of the problem. So the first thing you want to write is the equation. Y equals, you have to pay $30 for them to deliver it, plus $23 per cubic yard. Your x is representing your cubic yards. So that's our equation. Now that we have our equation, the second part of this is to find the cost for 8 cubic yards. Right? So since the cubic yards is your x value, in place of x, stick the 8. So you're going to have y equals 30 plus 23 times 8. Right? When you do order of operations with this value, you're going to find that it's going to cost $214 for that amount of mulch to be delivered. All right, for 25 and 26, you have multiple choice here, right? But there is still some work attached to it. Just because it's choices doesn't mean it's always that easy. All right, for number 25, which one does not have a y-intercept of positive 5? You can't decide that until each and every one of these problems has been put into slope-intercept form. Right? So for letter A, in order to make this slope-intercept form, I need to add the 5 over. So now I've got y equals 2x plus 5. Is the 5 in the y-intercept spot? Yes, it is. So it's not him. If you take b, you're going to subtract 3x over. And now you've got y equals negative 3x plus 5. Is 5 in the y-intercept spot? Yes, it is. So that's not your answer. Letter C is already ready to go. Is 5 in your intercept spot? Yes, it is. Obviously, the correct answer is D, but you want to do the math behind it to prove that it is not a positive 5 that's in that intercept spot. So if I do that, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now I've got negative y equals negative 2x plus 5. Divide everybody by negative 1. And clean it up so you get y equals positive 2x minus 5. The y-intercept on this one is negative 5. That's why letter D is going to be the answer to this one, because it is not a positive 5. For number 26, you are going to need to use your calculator and the linear regression that we did. Right? So I don't have the actual calculator on here to show you how to type everything in, okay? But I can remind you of the steps that you would use to do this. Very first thing you would want to do is enter all of these data values in the calculator. Right? So you have to enter the data. Okay, and if you remember from class, you should know exactly where to find that button to put those data pieces in. Once you've put the data in, then to get the equation for line of best fit, it's a matter of 4 buttons. You're going to hit the stat button. You're going to arrow over to the word calc at the top. You're going to choose number 4, which is lin reg for linear regression, and then you're going to hit enter until you see some values for an equation pop up. When you see those values pop up, you can then decide on which letter has the best answer choice. And if you look at the values for your M and your B, right, letter B has the best choice for this. So letter B is the line of best fit. Okay. For number 27, it asks you to explain how to find the equation for a horizontal line if it passes through the point 1, 4. Right? Well, the first thing you need to be able to tell me is that horizontal lines have a slope of 0. then from that, right, that means that because it has a slope of 0, they only have a y-intercept. We need to insert the word so. So they only have a y-intercept. Okay? And because it only crosses through the y-axis, right, then the only part of your ordered pair that you're going to use is going to be that 4, right? Because the ordered pair is 1, 4. If it only has a y-intercept, the y value is all that matters. So from that y value, you can write the equation y equals 4. It doesn't matter what the x number is, it's the y value that determines it. On the test, I could easily take the same question and turn it around and ask you how to find the equation of a vertical line that goes through an ordered pair. And you would have similar responses to this, but obviously it won't be a slope of 0 and the answer won't be y equals. Right? So pay attention to what's being asked and how you need to respond to it. For number 28, you're asked to write a line that is parallel to the given line and goes through the given point. So my original line is line 1, right? And line 2 has to go through -4, 1. Remember, you always start by identifying your parallel slope, and that's the same slope as the one that already exists, so that'd be a 2. Now you're going to use that 2 and the ordered pair to come up with your new equation. So I'm going to find the b since it's a little faster to do it that way. 1 equals 2 times -4 plus b. That gives me 1 equals -8 plus b. Add the 8 over, and now you get 9 equals b. Okay, so now that I have a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 9, my parallel line is y equals 2x plus 9. And that's all you need to be able to do, is give me the parallel equation to the one that you started with. 29 is the same exact thing, same line, different order pair, but this time it's asking you for the perpendicular equation. So you got to do a different set of thought processes. Your perpendicular slope, remember, is your opposite reciprocal. So in this case, that would be -1/2. I'm going to use that number and the order pair to find my b. So I've got 4 equals -1/2 times 3 plus b, right? Which gives me 4 equals -3/2 plus b. Okay, if you don't like the fraction, multiply everything by 2 and it'll go away. So now I've got 8 equals -3 plus 2b. Add the 3 over. You get 11 equals 2b. Divide by 2. And you're going to get a b value of 11/2. So your b is 11/2. So put it all together and you'll have your perpendicular line. Y equals -1/2 x plus 11/2. Right, this whole thing is for your perpendicular line. Okay, so you have to be able to write equations both ways. Right, for 30 and 31, you're asked to write the equation in standard form. Integer coefficients just means no fractions, no decimals, which is one of the rules anyway. So for number 30, okay, what you notice is that some things are on the wrong side, but you really don't have to move too much. If you know the x and the y have to be together on the same side, go ahead and add the y over. And then now you've got 6 equals 5x plus y, right? And then it's as simple as just rewriting it so that all the x's and y's on the left and the 6 is on the right, right? Because you're not physically moving anything, you're just rewriting it. Nobody's changing sides. You can just rewrite the problem without moving anything and subtracting anything. For 31, you can't have fractions, so you might as well start by getting rid of them. And the way we want to get rid of them is by multiplying by 5 on both sides. So now you got 5y equals -x plus 25. You need to move the x over by adding it. So we've got x plus 5y equals 25, and you're already in standard form, so you're good to go. Okay. For 32 and 33, you're still using standard form, but this time you are given some information, not just equations already written. Okay, so you have to write the equation in a certain form and then go from there to standard. All right, because I have a point and a slope, I'm going to use point slope form on this one and see if I can get to the equation a little faster. If you want to use find the b, you can certainly do that. Right, but I am going to use point slope. So it comes out y plus 4 equals 4/3 times x plus 3. Okay, I need to distribute, so I get y plus 4 equals 4/3 x plus 4, because this 3 crosses that 3 off. Okay, and then I don't want fractions, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply everybody by 3, so I can get rid of my fractions right now. This will give me 3y plus 12 equals 4x plus 12, okay, because that 3 crosses off. All right, then I need to move some things around. I want to subtract the 12 over. Okay, so this gives me 3y equals 4x plus 0, okay? And you do need to keep that 0 there because every equation does need to have a c value, right? Now I want to subtract the 4x over because he's on the wrong side. So this gives me negative 4x plus 3y equals 0. And while it's in the right order, I'm still breaking a rule. Can't have a negative in the a spot, so I need to divide everybody by negative 1. So your final equation for number 32 will be positive 4x minus 3y equals 0. Okay, so it takes a lot of steps there because there were some major rules being broken, but this is all the work you need to go through. For number 33, you have to start from scratch and find the slope and then proceed from there all the way to standard form. All right, so this takes the most work when all I give you is two ordered pairs. So 5 minus 2 over 2 minus 1. 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. That gives me a slope of 3. Now use point slope or find the b, whichever one you prefer, and go from there. I'm going to use point slope and go from that situation, and we should all end up in the same spot for your answer as long as you're doing your math right. So y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. This is y minus 2 equals 3x minus 3. Add the 2 over. So now you've got y equals 3x minus 1. Subtract your 3x over. So now you've got negative 3x plus y equals negative 1. You can't have a negative a, so divide everybody by negative 1. And your final answer should be positive 3x minus y equals positive 1. And that's standard form for those 2 points that you started with. Okay. For the last and final question, you are dealing with line of best fit or linear regression once more. So you're going to go back to your calculator. And again, I can't show you everything I'm typing in the calculator, right? But I can tell you and remind you of the steps that are involved with it. Right? Remember, the very first thing you must do, okay, is enter your data in the list. Okay, so first things first, enter data. And I will not be able to remind you of this on the test. You will have to know the process and the order to go through this. Okay. The second thing you will need to do is go to those 4 buttons, Stat, Calc, number 4, and enter until you get to an equation that has values. Right? And then you need to round always to the hundredths place. Never will we round to anything shorter. Right, so for part A, it asked you to state whether it has a positive or negative or no correlation. I'm going to skip over that one because once you answer letter B, then you can go back and answer letter A very quickly. Okay, once you've gotten into your calculator and entered your data and gone to find your equation, you should come up with the equation y equals negative 0.11x plus 28.98. Be careful with your rounding. I will take points off if the rounding is not done accurately. It must be to the hundredths place. Okay, then now that we've got that equation, we can go back and answer letter A very quickly. Your correlation to these are dealing with the slope. So whatever value the slope has will tell you if it's positive, negative, or none. And in these situations, you'll never have none because you're going to always have a slope. So because my slope is negative 0.11, the answer to letter A is that it has a negative correlation. Now to answer letter C, you have to use the equation from letter B to figure out what 7 degrees Celsius would be. 7 degrees Celsius represents your T, right? Which in our case, remember the top one is X, the bottom one was Y. So T is my X value. So in place of X, I need to put the number 7 and calculate the math. So this will be Y equals negative 0.11 times 7 plus 28.98. You will type that in your calculator or do order of operations, and you're going to come out with y equals 28.21. Remember, your answer to these problems need to be rounded to the exact same place value as the value in the chart does, because all of our d values in this table have 2 numbers after the decimal. Our final answer needs to have 2 numbers after the decimal. All right, so hopefully all of these helpful hints and answers helped you prepare or study some more for the test that you've got coming up, and that you do a very good job with it. Okay, good luck and study those formulas.